In this tutorial, we'll learn how to create this kind of heart-shaped mandala with different flower elements stacked together. You see how the first layer has this flower element, and then we increase it, and then we introduce a second set of flower elements. We increase the offset, and we then introduce a third layer. So let's begin with the mouse. And I'm going to turn this fill off, set the stroke to 5 mm, and go to object path outline stroke and come here, set to outline. So I have these two separate lines. Now I'm just going to ungroup this. So I have this outer edge and an inner edge. So again, inner edge will use to cut out the path, and outer edge will use it to create a compound path. So what we're going to do is we're going to create like a layered look. So in the first layer, we're going to incorporate one set of flowers. And in the second stage, we expand it, we create an offset, and then we introduce a second flower element. And in the third, we expand whatever is combined together, and then we introduce the third flower element. And from that point, once all the three flower elements are incorporated, the heart shape should be completely filled up. And then we increase the offsets, uh, keep increasing as long as we get the area gets covered up. So in the first stage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this thing here and just make it this way. I'm going to bring this path, the inner edge, to the front by pressing Ctrl Shift and the right bracket. And I'm going to select this and this path. I'm going to go and do a minus back in the pathfinder. Now I have this, I select both and press Ctrl 8. So this gives me the basic cut file. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to now create a copy of this. I'm going to just paint this over to something I can distinguish it. So I'm going to set this aside. Now what we're going to do is we're going to increase the offset for this. We're going to say 2 mm and we change the color. Okay. So the orange part is the original. We're going to keep it here. We're going to work with this, the increase part. Now it's always a good idea to name. So I'm going to go back here and name this as my top one layer. And this is going to be my second layer. But now I'm going to introduce the second set of flower elements. So here we go. Now when I do this, and if I simply merge it, you will see all this extrusion going outside the path. I don't want that. And even if you do that, it will, for example, let me show you. So when I do this, and if I go back here and do a merge, and you will see it as completely united. And if you look at it using the outline mode by pressing Ctrl Y, you will see it's kind of a messy out. You see this portion is fine, it has merged, but you see the outer edge has also this extrusion. It's been a, which is also kind of a unique look, but I don't want that right now. But if you notice, even the petals are being dissected by the flower, the latest flower elements that we introduce. So I don't want that. So how are we going to do this? We're going to do some operation here. So I undid it by pressing undo. And Since this is going to be a little messy, we need to clean it. So I'm going to do copy both the paths, create a new file, come here. Now, Illustrator has this nice little functional contrim. I fully don't understand the real purpose, but during my trial and error, I noticed it serves my purpose for the thing that I want to achieve here. So I'm going to hit this trim, both is selected. All right. Now, it you see when you move around, it is still one path. But if you go back and do an ungroup, that's where you will see the paths have been dissected. We are only interested in the path that is here inside and that is not overlapping with the pre-existing element. So what we're going to do is I'm going to zoom out a bit. I'm going to move this layer out because it's already cut out, and I'm going to move this layer out. So this is all garbage. I don't want that. So I'm going to select it and delete. Now I just have to go back here and place the elements so that they are just the way before. And in this case, we just simply want to make sure that it overlaps with the paths that are already there in order to unite and merge with the existing elements. That's all. So if it is not touching to anything, then you make sure it's touching. So it's kind of overlapping here, so we are good. All right, so this portion we can simply bring this here. Okay, little bit. So that's it. Now what we can do is we can select both and click on merge. So now this is my complete path. You see how nicely it has done it. There are some garbage elements here. I can get rid of them. All right. So I go out of the outline mode. I take this, go back to my original file here. I paste it here. And this I can call it as T2. All right. I just want to make sure this is below T1. All right. Now this is there. Now what I'm going to do is same process. I'm going to increase this offset and then introduce the rows elements. So this is going to be 2 mm and change the colors. Okay. This is still my T2. And this, I'm going to again use my other file, copy over there, take them here. I'm going to remove this piece here. All right, and let's zoom out. I'm going to place this here. Okay, I'm going to bring this to the top. And once zoom in, looks good. So I select both and do a trim operation. I ungroup, and now I make sure the elements that I need, I set them apart. I need this, I set this apart. And for the rest, I do a sweep and delete them. And I go back here, I arrange them nicely and create a merge. Now you see how these parts are not touching? That should be okay because the path is attached to the big frame, so it will not fall off. But for giving extra sturdiness, it's always good to have them attached. Now once they are attached, you select both, do a unite, and there it is. Now this is our third layer, okay? So I'm gonna call this as T3. Okay, from this point onwards, we we just simply increase the offsets for this. Offset 2 mm, set a different color. Again, the so when you create an offset, the new path is actually already selected, and that's the increased vector. So we don't disturb it. We simply go back to object, path, offset, again 3 mm. We set a different color. So we keep doing this until we are satisfied with the amount of area that is covered. Offset, and then maybe the last color, I guess. Okay, so we have enough layers now, and this is T3, so this must be T4, 5, and T6. All right, now what we can do is we can bring these two together here. See how the T1 and T2 has gone down. We're going to bring them up. Simply drag and push it over. We select all. There it is. Now, as discussed in my previous tutorial, you see how the inside the edges are actually creating nice offsets and creates a layered look, but I don't like the parts that are extending beyond the topmost layer. So what we're gonna do is we can stamp the excess. So one way is to brute force all the bottom layers to the size of this, and that is also fine. But in this one, we're gonna show one layer, and we can stamp this out using this being the size that was the original for this one. So you simply overlay on top, you align them together. The make sure the cookie cutter vector is at the bottom, otherwise it will change the color. So once they are selected, you go to Pathfinder and click on intersect. So that will stamp out the excess edges. So this, oops, I lost the stamp. I need the stamp so I can stamp out the rest. So I'm gonna undo this. I'm gonna copy this here. Let's zoom out a bit. So I'm gonna separate them out here so I can easily do all at once. Okay, so I have this rubber stamp. I'm gonna cookie cut all of these. Alt and drag. Now once I have this, I align them and intersect. Align them, intersect. All right, so okay, this one. Now I can simply drag and select all of them. Oh, I think I missed one. Okay, so this can be my bottommost layer, and let me set the color. Okay, oops. I select all of them and align them. There it is. Now, this is a 2D look, right? So I know there are tools available like in Blender, you can use Blender or Tinkercad to create a 3D markup, and I'm not much familiar with it. So if you have any ideas how I can create a 3D markup out of it, that would be really helpful. So that's all for this tutorial. Let me know if you like this technique of making mandala, and would be happy to share more tutorials. Thank you.